Hey guys, it's Micah, and for Chapter 2's 1-year anniversary, I'm going to reveal to you 10 lost secrets from Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. We'll be discovering everything from deleted scenes, lost locations, to over a dozen unused characters. Keep in mind this list does contain major spoilers for Chapter 2, so if you haven't played it yet, go play it, and then come back. You have been warned. Before we start, I want to let you know we're doing a giveaway for 10 copies of Chapter 2. More information on how to win your free copy later in the video. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1. Chapter 2's alternate opening. Poppy Playtime fans will remember that Chapter 2 opens with us exploring Elliot Ludwig's office and eventually finding Poppy in a hidden room below. But Chapter 2 didn't always start this way. In a now deleted opening of the chapter, after freeing Poppy from her case, you wake up and are immediately greeted by the sight of Poppy peeking out behind a door. The sequence continues with you following Poppy as she slinks throughout various hallways. Following Poppy then led you back outside to where Huggy Wuggy fell in Chapter 1. What followed was a 10-minute parkour sequence down the catwalks and conveyor belts from Chapter 1, eventually leading to a power puzzle that activated an elevator, taking you down to the game station to meet your new foe, Mommy Longlegs. Now, you're probably wondering why this never ended up in the game. There were a few reasons this alternate intro was abandoned. The first reason was chasing Poppy was just turning out too funny. The sequence went through 3 major iterations, starting with you straight up chasing Poppy to follow her, but that just ended up being way too funny. Version 2 was Poppy peeking out behind doorways and walls, but that was almost even funnier. In the last version, you see Poppy's shadow moving across the floor and walls. This version was definitely the creepiest iteration, and it's the one we ended up sticking with for quite a long time. But in the end, it was abandoned for just feeling a little too cheesy. The second reason was simple. It was too long. You went through a 10-minute parkour sequence and a wild goose chase without really learning or seeing anything interesting, which leads us to the final reason for the scene's abandonment. Mommy Longlegs had no mention or build-up. To fix these shortcomings, we completely redid the intro sequence. We first added Elliot Ludwig's office to the sequence so you had an interesting location to explore. We then changed following Poppy to Poppy talking to you, to make her a relatable character instead of just a cheesy horror doll that you follow around. Then we added a scene forcing you to watch Poppy be kidnapped before your eyes to build up the threat of Mommy Longlegs. And finally, we had you jump down a slide rather than jump down catwalks for 10 minutes. In the end, these changes are why the alternate opening of Chapter 2 never saw the light of day. Number 2. Mommy Longlegs' alternate intro scene. Mommy's intro scene was one of the hardest things to get right in Chapter 2. The scene went through multiple versions of dialogue and pacing. These alternate versions, while relatively similar to the final, had a few key differences. Here's the first alternate version.
Why, oh my, hello down there. I wasn't expecting company. Always tells Mommy when guests are on their way down. Didn't this time. Always tells Mommy. Shh, you're okay now. Mommy will take care of you. Mommy wants to take you somewhere special. It's easy to get lost down here. Some have lost their way and never found it again. But Mommy won't let that happen to you. Mommy always knows where you are.
So yeah, in this version of the scene, there were a few key elements missing from a storytelling standpoint. 1. Mommy's introduction to the story didn't influence anything about your current objective. 2. The player had no reason to feel threatened by Mommy Longlegs because she had no prior build-up at the time. So we addressed some of these issues in version 2.
Why, oh my! Hello down there. I think you lost this. Do you want it back? No, of course not. Though Mommy assumes this is something you want back. Finding you two down here was surprising. Always tells Mommy when guests are on their way down. Didn't this time. Always tells Mommy. Mommy loves to play games. Do you like to play games? How about you play some games with Mommy? Oh, you don't have to. Mommy can just keep little Miss Poppy if you don't want her. But Mommy already knows you love to play. Some have lost their way and never found it again. But Mommy won't let that happen to you. Mommy always knows where you are.
So this version addressed one of the big issues. Mommy now kidnaps Poppy to give the player a motive to play Mommy's games. But then we realized something. The player doesn't even need Poppy. Who cares if she's kidnapped? So Mommy showing up still didn't affect your current objective. So here's what we did to solve it. We had Poppy be the only one who knows the train code, so now you need her to escape. We also added that scene where Mommy comes out of nowhere and pulls Poppy down into the abyss. Problem solved. Now, Mommy steals your only way of escape, and watching Mommy kidnap Poppy makes her introduction all the more threatening. Number 3. The game station's lost designs. Fans will remember that the game station features a giant mural of Mommy Longlegs, a playground for the kids, and entrances to the station's 3 main games. But it didn't used to be this way. The original design of the game station was absolutely massive, and featured a mural on the roof with a giant sun and moon illuminating the station. Although it looked jaw-dropping, there were 2 major issues. It was unrealistically big and was completely empty. It didn't seem like it could have been a real functioning location for kids. The second version featured a new design for the sun and moon, and a lot more color in the room to make it more inviting for the kids who'd visit. However, it was still completely empty. So we went back to the drawing board, keeping in mind what a place like the game station would need to be a fully functional and realistic location. In the end, we shrunk the room, added a big playground for the kids to play in while they waited for their turn in the games, added structural supports for realism, catwalks for Playtime Co. employees to observe the things going on, and of course, added some classic Playtime Co. style branding. Number 4. Musical Memory's lost design. Musical Memory used to have a much different aesthetic than it currently does. In the original version, the walls were completely covered in TV screens of various sizes that would display the name of the button that you're supposed to press, and the buttons you press during the game used to be suspended by big mechanical arms. The reason this design was abandoned was fairly straightforward. The aesthetic was too high-tech looking for Playtime Co. The array of TVs and mechanical arms made the room feel closer to a spaceship than a toy factory. On top of that, we also decided that we wanted to include an area where Mommy Longlegs could watch you play, and that just wasn't going to work in a curved room with a bunch of TVs. Number 5. Cassie Cutie-pillar. Some of you may actually be aware of this one. Cassie Cutie-pillar was the original character that was going to be chasing you throughout the Statues game. She was a giant caterpillar with a pink snout, beady eyes, and 2 antennae. Cassie actually appeared in the official Chapter 2 trailer before she was scrapped. Though Cassie was cute, we felt we had the opportunity to make the character more unique by creating an unholy combination of 2 different animals. So we went back to the drawing board. We spent a long time picking the right face for this new character, something that didn't feel too goofy for the Statues section of the game. Eventually, we settled on the design that would become PJ Pugapillar. This was one of the later changes we made to Chapter 2, as we had already made a completely finished model of Cassie, complete with fur simulation and realistic eyeballs, as well as various art of Cassie throughout the game having to be swapped with the new PJ art. Number 6. Daisy the Flower and 7 other characters. This is probably the most well-known one on the list. Very similar to Cassie Cutie-pillar, Daisy was the original character that was going to be lowering towards you during the Musical Memory game. She was a flower marionette suspended on strings with a very unsettling face. Like Cassie, Daisy also appeared briefly in the trailer for Chapter 2. Daisy was abandoned because we wanted a character with more theming, and a way to alert the player that death was getting closer and closer. And this is where things got difficult. We went through 7 completely different character concepts for the Musical Memory toy. A monkey, a clown, a fox, a princess, a bluebird, another bird, a ballerina bird, and finally, a bunny. We liked the bunny because he had great theming with his symbols and clothes, as well as his symbols serving as a great audio tool as you hear him descending upon you in Musical Memory. After a few slight design tweaks and color variations, we finally got the Bunzo bunny we all know today. Daisy the Flower wasn't completely absent from Chapter 2, however, as we see various art and posters of her throughout the game, as well as a full cardboard cutout with voice lines from Daisy. Number 7. Mommy Longlegs alternate designs. Mommy Longlegs went through dozens of designs before she became the noodly pink maniac we all know today. 2 of these scrap designs actually show up in Chapter 2 as old blueprints for Mommy Longlegs. Her first design was a noodly plush doll with button eyes. It was cute, but that was the problem. The design wasn't eerie enough. A few other things on top of that was she looked too young for her name to be Mommy, she didn't have enough resemblance to a spider for her Longlegs pun to make sense, and we wanted to try making her a plastic toy to make her feel more unique from Huggy Wuggy. For the next designs, we really tried to push the spider look, as well as make her appearance a bit more creepy. She did look like a spider now, but too much so, to the point where we didn't think it would be realistic for Playtime Co. to create a toy like her. Another issue was this design didn't necessarily look like a toy at first glance either. The next designs really tried to push the creep factor in the face, and reel back a bit on the spider elements. This design pass is also where we came up with the idea of Mommy having limbs that could stretch. Originally, her limbs were going to extend in the form of plastic tubes, similar to the way a lightsaber toy might extend. This design was scrapped because of the challenge of making her limbs bend while also being made of extending plastic tubes. The variation of colors also made her design feel too sporadic and complex. To solve these problems, we came up with the concept of elastic plastic, a substance that Playtime co-created that can stretch like rubber but also retain its shape and position. We also simplified her color pattern and gave her a spherical waist similar to a spider's abdomen. We concepted a few alternate designs after this one with more spider-like features, however, the problem from before still persisted that it was too spider-like and creepy for Playtime Co. to have realistically made. Number 8. The 6 Lost Toys. From the beginning of Chapter 2, we knew we wanted to have new toys present in each of the games in the game station. These became Bunzo Bunny, the Mini Huggies, and PJ Pug-a-Pillar. But before those were made, we had 6 different potential characters created to fill these roles. Jolly Clown, who went through a few design iterations, Lovebug, who actually appears in Chapter 2 as a rejected toy, Psydog, a robot dog toy, Sunny Buddy, who also appears as a rejected toy, Lily the Frog, a frog on roller skates, and Monster Truck. That one kinda speaks for itself. Number 9. The Quality Control Room and the Production Room. In Chapter 2, before entering Musical Memory, we take a detour to the molding room where you create the green electric hand. In an early version of the chapter, every game you go to was going to be paired with a factory room similar to the molding room. Whack-a-Wuggy had the production room, and Statues had the quality control room. These rooms were never implemented into the game and were scrapped during the concept phase because they just seemed like unnecessary filler. Number 10. Mommy Longlegs' death scene. One of Chapter 2's most infamous moments is the death of Mommy Longlegs. After minutes of running away from Mommy, you're backed into a corner with no way out. But just as all hope seems lost, you pull down a lever that activates a grinder. Mommy's arm is pulled into the grinder and she desperately tries to escape, screaming for her life as she's slowly crushed to death. Now, you wouldn't think it, but there was actually quite a bit of debate behind the scenes about how Mommy should be pulled into the grinder. In the alternate version of Mommy's death, her head is actually pulled inside and grinded to a pulp, leaving her lifeless lower half to fall onto the floor. Here it is.
What have you done? You make me part of you! You can't do this to me!
We decided to scrap this version for 2 reasons. 1, the imagery of Mommy's upper half being dragged away would be more resonant than her lower half being dragged away. And 2, Mommy's head being grinded up might have just been too gruesome to show without the game getting an M rating. So there you go. Those were 10 lost secrets in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. And in honor of Chapter 2's anniversary, we're doing a giveaway for 10 free copies of Chapter 2 on Steam. Click the link in the description below if you want to enter. Chapter 2 is also on a huge sale on PC and mobile on these dates. So if you haven't played Chapter 2 yet, now's your chance. Make sure to like and share the video if you enjoyed what you saw. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in Chapter 3.